Hey guys, I I decided to speak today about spiritual development, and it's going to be very spontaneous. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the spiritual development and spirituality has been showing up more and more among my clients. It requested, and I have just finished having a conversation with one of my clients who actually came in the program for confidence. We never really talked about spirituality before we started, and it turns out that the one of the biggest benefits that he actually received from the whole program, and which one of the biggest benefits simply was spiritual growth, and was linking of everything he has ever learned before into something that actually makes sense, into something where he does feel like he's progressing. So I want to do a bunch of disclaimers first so that no one ends up thinking that I have some spiritual agenda or some religious agenda. I'm not member like of any religious organization. I don't consider myself or in like I don't identify myself as part of any particular religion exclusively. I believe that all religions are equally valid. All religions are actually based on philosophy. And in the end of the day, all of these philosophies are based on love. Love meaning feeling of belonging, feeling of happiness, basically, if we really make it down. Happiness and feeling of peace, right? You will find this from Judaism to Hinduism to Christianity to Islam to Western esotericism to Tao. You like love, you will find love everywhere, even in Instagram, right? Like hashtag love is the most used hashtag on Instagram, so there must be something about it. So having said that, um, I don't I don't really care what you believe in. I don't really care what kind of religion you identify yourself with. What I do care about, from my position as a coach, is that you find happiness in your life on your terms. You find more love and more fulfillment in your own life. And when it comes to spiritual development and spiritual growth, the way I measure this is by how much love and how much happiness are you feeling and experiencing on a daily basis. Now, in emotional releasing, there's a chart of emotions that looks like there's on the very bottom, it's shame and guilt. Above that is apathy, sadness, fear. Above that is desire, anger, and pride. Apathy, grief, fear, lust, or desire, anger, pride. I call these emotions act flap emotions. Above that is courage, acceptance, peace. And in acceptance, you can count also joy and love. So while as act flap emotions are emotions of pain, emotions of suffering, emotions of resistance, the higher emotions are cap emotions: courage, acceptance, joy, love, peace. Now, this is something that is absolutely universal for every single human being in the world. Everyone wants to feel more courage, acceptance, joy, love, peace. Everyone wants to feel less shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, right? You can almost take this and use it as the basics of human motivation, right? Pain emotions are apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride. People want to avoid pain. And courage, acceptance, joy, love, peace are the high emotions, the emotions of pleasure. And that's what everyone is looking for. If you look at advertisement and all the marketing in the world, every single marketing campaign is targeted to make people realize how much they want to avoid shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, and move towards courage, acceptance, joy, love, peace. Some do that by advertising tables. Tables are going to make you more happy, less frustrated. Some do it with medication, some do it with all sorts of products. But in the end of the day, the reason why I'm saying this is that spiritual development and spiritual growth you can measure by how much of those kept emotions you are feeling on everyday basis, right? This is dependent on how much you can handle emotional tension directly. And I know I've been having over this all the time, but I want to say it again because it's simply true. If you feel if you are avoiding emotional tension, the reason why is because underneath that tension, there are hidden emotions that you don't want to face, you don't want to experience. And what the ego does, what the ego defense mechanism does, is that it will kind of cut off the emotional part, it will cut off feeling, and instead it will put in thinking. And what nice guys do, what nice guy pattern does, is that nice guys don't want to feel bad emotions because they don't know how to handle them. And they want to bypass their way through conceptual thinking and through conceptual understanding into those higher emotions of courage, acceptance, joy, love, peace. So very often they are very good at intellect. They're very good at thinking, at analyzing things and understanding sophisticated concepts. So they are like intellectually, they are extremely smart, but they're miserable, right? And what emotional releasing does is that emotional releasing will literally make you connect with that feeling of emotional tension. And it's going to help you to let go of all this stuff that's underneath it, right? If there is shame, there's only a limited amount of shame. Once you release this shame and you don't accumulate more of that, you naturally rise higher, right? Just like when you cut your hand will heal on its own. You don't have to do anything at all. You can just let it be, and because the body has a natural healing ability, the hand will going to heal itself. It's the same thing with emotion. Um, if you feel the emotion and you apply emotional releasing, your emotional body, your emotional self, let's call this, will heal itself on its own. You don't have to do anything at all. If you cut your hand and you will start put oils on it and ointments and plasters and all this stuff to make it heal faster, it's going to heal slower because now you're fucking up with it, right? Now you're intervening with it. It's the same with your mind. If you feel an emotion, you don't want to feel it because it's uncomfortable. You will start intervening into it with your mind, with your thinking. What's going to happen is that the emotion will not heal, and it's just going to get worse, right? So if you put enough plasters on it, it's going to burn. It's going to get inflamed. And when it gets inflamed, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you keep doing the same thing that's not working, eventually your entire arm will be consumed by it, right? So what was a cut in the beginning, you could actually saw this if you saw the Requiem for a Dream. The guy had a little infection on his hand. He didn't want to go with the hospital with that. He ended up that they had to amputate his arm. This is the same thing. If you have an emotion, which was like a minor trigger when you were a kid, but you don't do anything with it, and you build more and more defense mechanism, you will be trying to bend the world into your will, and you will try to adjust yourself so that you fit in the world. What's going to happen is that you will have to avoid more and more tension. It's going to be more and more uncomfortable until the point where it's going to be unbearable. Now, because we live in a world that's very fast, it starts to happen earlier than it was before. Before, this was happening for people in middle age, and we call this middle age crisis. Now we found something, if you Google this, you will find something called quarter life crisis, right? So people, guys, girls in their age of mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, they have a crisis because they don't know who they are. They don't know how they define themselves because of the information overload that's here that analytical mind cannot possibly process. They're overwhelmed. They are looking for these answers. And the harder they try to look for it intellectually and logically, the more frustrated they get because they only end up overthinking, right? So what they do naturally is that they start looking for the answers in mysticism. And this is where it comes down to all the spirituality that you can see people practicing today in the world. They want to explore new things, right? You can see explosion of yoga, explosion of meditation, explosion of even many people are starting to practice tantra. Tantra became open to the world, seems the last few decades. It's the same with qigong. But the thing is, people who never ever done anything like this, and they start suddenly going into these highly spiritual and highly energetic practices, suddenly they start feeling things in their body that they have never felt before, right? If you do a bunch of tantric sexual transmutation stuff, or if you do a bunch of qigong, very fast you can be able to feel a lot in your body. But if you do not have a tool how to deal with this, it's tension, right? Tension is energy. If you don't have a tool how to deal with this stuff, if the energy hits some internal blockage and the blockage kind of explodes, right? In a way, it reveals itself. It reveals what's there. People get overwhelmed because they don't know how to handle that. And it's something that I haven't heard this for the first time in the last few days. I've heard this many times. People start doing these things like sexual transmutation practices. They have these amazing experiences, but then it feels extremely good, And from the extreme good, it goes to extreme crap. And suddenly it's too much, it's overwhelming, and they're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? I don't want to do this. This is devil's work. Get this out from me. But it's not that the external thing caused their pain. Like, I give you an example, for instance, Vipassana meditation. There are people who go to Vipassana meditation, which is basically a retreat where you shut up for 21 days, you're silent, and all you do is just you meditate. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice. But because your analytical mind stops thinking, all this thinking that was there to shut down feeling stops. It means that the feeling starts to go up. And when the feeling starts to go up, and you don't have a tool to handle the feeling, you don't have a tool to handle the emotion, what starts to happen is that you don't know what's happening. You have no idea how to deal with that. People who do psychedelics also have the same experiences. It's beautiful, it's overwhelmingly beautiful. And then they have like the exact opposite reaction, and they are scared, they are overwhelmed, they don't know how to deal with it simply. Now, emotional releasing is amazing, amazing tool on this, because it doesn't matter what kind of tension it is in your body. All the tension you're simply letting go. Whether it's apathy because you feel overwhelmed at work, or it's apathy because you went to try some spiritual practice and you got overwhelmed and it's too much and you can handle that and you feel like you don't want to live anymore because life has no meaning. It's the same feeling. It's the same apathy. The energy of apathy is generating the same thoughts in your mind. If you go out on a date and the woman tells you that you're a disgusting creep, she never wants to ever see you again, and you come home and you're apathetic because you never actually want to see women again, it's the same feeling. It's apathy. If you feel angry because your mom tells you that you should clean up your room more often, even though you're 36 already, if you get angry for this, it's the same anger as when you want something your employees to do and they don't. It's the same anger as when you're sitting in a car in the bus, and you're sitting in the car on the road, and you have a road rage because somebody doesn't put the direction light or whatever. If it's anger, then no matter what situation it is, no matter what situation you are in, anger is always the same. Now, here's one thing: no matter what kind of discomfort and suffering you're experiencing in life, I guarantee you with 1,000,000% certainty that there's emotion behind it. What's like suffering is a general term for the negative emotions of shame, guilt, apathy, sadness, fear, desire, anger, pride. If you know what is the emotion and you target the emotion and you work through the emotion with emotional releasing, you can let it go and naturally heal yourself by going up into courage, acceptance, peace. If you don't, you will ignore the emotion. You will just feel like, yeah, this is just like some nonsense feeling that's for women. You will be trying to fix your internal feeling that's in your body by changing stuff in the world. That's literally nuts. That's literally nuts. And so many people are doing that. I'm going to be happier if I get a better job. I'm going to be happier if I get sex with more women. I'm going to be happier if this or that or that or that. It doesn't work, because you're not going to solve your internal emotional problem from the outside, but from the inside. And then whatever you want to create in the world, when you're creating it with loving energy, with courage, with excitement, it's going to be a million times easier to achieve that. If you go out and you date women and you're pissed off and you're frustrated and you feel lonely and afraid that you will be lonely for the rest of your life and ashamed that you have to be needy around women, well, guess what kind of energy that's going to create for the woman? And guess how she's going to react? No one wants to be with a man like that. Not even your brother. So woman doesn't want to be with a man like that either. But if you go with a woman and you enjoy yourself, you see her beauty, you enjoy the flirt, you enjoy your sexuality, you enjoy that she turns you on and you're not afraid to show her, well, then guess how she will react? She will join you in enjoying yourself by she enjoying you and herself. And this is how you create a synergistic relationship. This is how you create synergistic business. This is how you create synergistic sports experiences. It's everywhere, right? So this is how emotional releasing relates to spiritual development. I believe if your goal as a spiritual seeker is to experience more happiness, more beauty, and more love, then emotional releasing is something that's perfectly aligned with that. If you are interested in finding out more about emotional releasing and whether it's something that can be applicable for you and you would have benefit from, then go to bymatters.com/book now and book a session with me where we will talk about your current situation, right? What happened in your life, how it's influencing you today, what you would like to experience more of in life, what would it look like if it was perfect, and then we're going to craft a step-by-step game plan of how to achieve that. This is the purpose of the call, for you to have a clarity on where you are and have a step-by-step game plan of how to get where you want to be. Okay, if this is interesting for you, these calls are free. I don't charge for these calls. If you like the way, if you like what you discover, if you like the way I think, if you like the way you might, where you could see yourself in the future, then we might end up working together. If not, then not. One way or another, you have nothing to lose. So if you want to try that, go to bymatters.com/book now and book the session with me today. So that's it for today, guys. And I hope to see you and talk to you soon. Bye bye.